In this video, we'll be discussing about Bootstrap modal dialogues. So Bootstrap for modal. The modal component is a dialog box or pop-up window that is displayed on top of the current page. And how do we create a modal? First, we have to place a button or any object that will trigger the opening of the modal. So in this case, we have a button, and you notice that we have here the button. So type equals button, class equals our Bootstrap class for buttons, and then this is what is important here. We have data toggle modal, and data target is the ID of the modal dialog. So these are the important attributes of the button. Again, data toggle equals modal, and data target equals the ID. So this should correspond to the ID of the modal dialog. Then here's the caption of the button / button. So in this example, we're going to use the button to open a modal dialog. And then here is now the modal code to create a modal dialog. First, we have the division class equals modal, and then ID equals my modal. Again, this one is the same as the ID or the target ID here in our button. So that's my modal. And then inside this division is div class modal dialog. So until this part. And then we have modal content until this part. And then inside the modal content is we have the header, the body, and the modal footer. So we have the modal header. Then we can place anything here in the header. So in this case, we have a title, modal heading, and we have a button. So the title, we use h4 with class equals modal title. Then we have the button, class equals close, and then data dismiss equals modal. So this one is important because if we click on this button, this will close the whole modal dialog. So you should include data dismiss equals modal. And then this is the caption with this X. And then modal body. So this is where you place the contents of the modal dialog. And then we have the modal footer. And in this case, we have again a button that is close. And again, we have the data dismiss modal. So just like in this button. So once we click this button, this will close this whole dialog. So let's have a recap. Again, we have the div class equals modal, and then the ID of the modal dialog. And then inside, inside this wrapper or inside this division, we have the division class equals modal dialog. And inside this modal dialog, we have the modal content. So we have here 3 divisions. And inside the modal content will be the modal header, the modal body, and the modal footer. So these are the parts of the modal dialog. Now we can add animation to our modal. So we use that fade or the fade class to add the fading effect when opening and closing the modal dialog. So to do this, in our div class equals modal, we just add the fade class. Then modal sizes. So change the size of the modal by adding that modal SM class for small modals, that modal LG for large modals, or modal XL for extra large modals. And the default size is medium. That's why you don't have modal MD here. Because if you don't specify anything, then that means the size is medium. So add the size of the class to the div element with the class modal dialog. So modal dialog, and then you add the size. So either modal SM or modal LG for large and modal XL for extra large dialog. So these are examples. What if you want the modal to be centered? So center the modal vertically and horizontally within the page. So with the modal dialog centered class. So we have here modal dialog, and then after that modal dialog centered. So that means that the modal dialog will be centered again vertically and horizontally. and we'll be trying this later in our live demo. Scrolling modal. It is possible to only scroll inside the modal instead of the page itself by adding that modal dialog scrollable to the modal dialog. So we have here div class equals modal dialog scrollable. So again, we have a scrolling modal, and that will be the options we can have in our modal. So let's now try this in our live demo. So here I have here my, of course, the necessary links to my Bootstrap, CSS, jQuery, etc. So I use CDN for this example. And then here is where I'm going to place my jQuery, but we don't have jQuery yet. So here I have a button with the following. So data toggle modal and data target is my modal. Again, my modal corresponds to the ID of the modal dialog. So this is the button. So if I click on this button, it will open this dialog. So class modal, ID modal. So this was the code I have shown you a while ago. Then class modal dialog, class modal content. So we have three divisions here. So slash div. And then inside the modal content, we have the header. So this is the header, the body, and the modal footer. So modal header, modal body, and modal footer. And inside our modal header, we have a heading H4 with the class modal title. We have a button. And then we have the modal body here, and then another button inside the modal footer. So let's try to launch this in Chrome. So here we have the button. So we don't have the dialog box yet. We don't have the modal dialog yet. But if I click on this, it will open the modal dialog. So this is our modal header. So we have the heading, and we have here the button. So if you click on this button, this will close the modal. Click again, click on this button, it will close the modal. Okay. So what are the other options? I can have a centered modal by placing here modal dialog centered. So what will happen? I'll refresh and then open the box. So it is now centered both horizontally and vertically. What else? I can change the size. So modal LG. Refresh. So I have a larger modal. How about modal SM? That means a smaller modal. So refresh. So I have a smaller modal. And then we have what? Modal XL. So what if we have a modal XL? Refresh, open. So we have a extra large modal dialog. We can also have what? The fade class. So I'm going to place here fade. So once I refresh, so again, there's some sort of an animation. If I open and close the modal dialog. So for scrollable, I should have here some sort of a lengthy content. So let's make this longer. Hope this will be okay. Let's try. Now let's remove modal XL. So refresh. So that's our dialog. You notice we need to scroll the screen so that we can view all of the contents. Now let's make the modal scrollable. So we just place here modal scrollable. So refresh. Oh, do I have the correct class? Modal dialog scrollable. So it should be modal dialog scrollable. So sorry about that. So it should be modal dialog scrollable. So save, and then we refresh, open this. So again, the dialog now is scrollable. So that is now my demonstration for modal dialog. So thank